You get inspiration and ideas when you meditate in front of the minerals. Do the minerals give you ideas, or do they only inspire you to get in contact with your own source of creativity?
This is always this old question, if the idea come from inside or come from outside.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the before, chicken or the egg? But I think it happened in both directions. And working with minerals, I was absolutely convinced that I have to get tuned to the material, and they have to tell me what I have to do with them. Because I think that sometimes if you intellectually you get idea become obstacle between you and material.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to remove that obstacle. So I tried to empty myself before, go to the mines and sit in the front of minerals for a long period of time. Just two positions, sitting or lying in a state of kind of half sleeping, and to find out what material can tell me. And really worked, but you have to wait a long time. It took me about 2 weeks. that in a way that material said to me, I have to make a shoes out of it. It was really such a kind of illumination almost, because I always like this moment when idea comes as a surprise, not something that you're waiting for, not something that you're now like, how you call writing and thinking, I have to do this way. It's all manipulation. You have to be ready, and then anyway, on the way to the kitchen, or cutting garlic, or going to the toilet, or waiting for the aeroplane, doesn't matter the situation. The idea have to come in the form of the vision and as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's beyond this good and bad, conventional kind of, how you say, critic. You just have to take the entire thing as it is, and that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And from that way I like to work.
But how do you think it works in general with artists? Because everybody has to deal with this thing actually.
But it's very different, because I think everybody have to find his own method how things works. I mean, it's strange, like Jackson Pollock, to lose his intellectual kind of level of thinking. He have to get totally drunk.
Mm-hmm.
That the subconscious come out, and then he will make his work.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting with the Pollock, what I like, I just read his biography recently, and he said when he will paint his paintings, actually he will paint the figures and the secret signs in the air by throwing the color.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be completely figurative things, and the way when this whole thing falling on the ground become abstract. So the message will be completely, how you call, realistic. Mm-hmm. And only will dissolve on the canvas and become, emotional, abstract message. But I think still work in subconscious level when observer looking at. And it's interesting because really the real true knowledge always being on the secret level. So even if he came to that point in his body of transmission, and that transmission take place by these figurative drawings, turn into abstract, become secret message. We subconsciously can feel it.
Yeah. Can you imagine ways in which new technology like virtual reality can be used to stimulate a spiritual transformation?
But yes, but only as a one possibility, but not as the only possibility. Mm-hmm. Because somehow what we are doing, we are going way away all the time from nature and getting more and more into technical possibilities. And if we could make the right balance, I think it's possible. But only through this, I think that we get disconnected even more. Mm-hmm. But I think this is interesting part, but just in combination with the nature, but not without. This is my point.
But with nature, you mean the nature of mind, or the nature, the rough nature?
I mean the rough nature. I mean, how many people I know, friends in New York, who are not able to go just, I don't know, to the countryside and camping, mm-hmm. because they become so urban, they become so attached to phone, fax, taking shower, looking television, that any of these elements are missing, that they can't function properly anymore. Mm-hmm. And that means we are heavily disconnected from the nature. I mean, just simply going to desert or going to the forest and make your meal on the fire, sleep outside, and wake up in the morning and feel good. I mean, we can do all this and feel terrible in the morning because we are nature's enemy. And I think we have to make the connection again back. Because I was explaining once that actually the moment when the man become stop gathering food, like like in primitive tribes that would take the fruits and hunt the animals, and become the person who would deal with agriculture. That moment, the nature stopped being a friend and become enemy, because that become obstacle. Everything, nature's total obstacle for us. We have to remove forests. We have to clean this for the new nuclear factories. We have to change the path of the river because it's better for electricity, and permanently in conflict with nature. And that's the all like in décalage, when the French say, and that have to stop. And then only with the kind of balance, then the technology works too. I'm never against it, but in this point, the progress become regress on the long term.
But you can imagine that it will be used for spiritual goals, like
Yeah, definitely.
Like you have already things like video drugs and brain machines and things. Is that usable?
I think everything is usable. It's definitely usable, because if from the high technology that can bring you to the meditation, whatever it is, it's okay. I really think so. But like now, the new kids are going from the completely another side, like techno, house music, whatever. If you do 12 hours of techno music and just drinking mineral water, you can get in a certain state, same of if you're doing 12 hours of ritualistic dance or whatever, voodoo dance in Indonesia. It's become almost the same experience. It's very interesting, but the motivation are not the same. That makes difference. So that's
the result is also different.
Yeah, that's it.
Different cultures where you had contact with, like Buddhists and Aborigines, are familiar with the spiritual enlightenment. Is your view on enlightenment very different from theirs?
I'm not enlightened, first of all.
The view on enlightenment.
The view, their view. I was thinking my view of enlightenment. I said, what? Their view. I think when you come to the whatever we call illumination, state of illumination, is the only one state. There is no difference in that. The path is different. But it's interesting, the difference between Aborigine and Tibetans, from my point of view, that Aborigine are genetically in that state already. They're born like that. The full-blood Aborigine is enlightened, born and live in Australia is enlightened human being. That's what I absolutely convinced, and I saw it. And that's why we even can't have communication. They communicate on much higher level than we can understand. And where does
the difference comes from?
From they are on that point because they're completely connected with the nature, and we made this disconnection, so we can't understand them. They work on different level than we. They've highly developed telepathy, highly developed extrasensory perceptions. They use much more points of brain than we do. They even have archaic blood group who give the oxygen to body in different way. Chemically, they're different. I mean, in many different ways. I can explain, like, half an hour what is the difference, almost physically. And they are definitely enlightened. And the Tibetans are not. The Tibetans have a technique how to get there. So that's the difference between two things. But when you're there, it's the same. But one have technique and another ones are what they are.
And why do you think Western people are not so familiar with spiritual techniques? I'm wondering where this difference comes from.
It's just progress. Our fucked up is progress. That's what is so funny to say, but the progress is our really regress. The harmony, we disturb the general harmony, what male-female harmony, and we don't accept natural process. We wanted to stop natural process, and we became completely, as I always call, disconnected. We went so far in replacing technology with our possibilities of our own body, that we became invalids. We are definitely invalids, and we can't help it. We don't know where is a good place to sit and where is bad place to sit. In old days, we had all these possibilities. In the time of the Celtic, how you call development, every Celtic sculpture, every early Christian monastery or the church been always built on energy spots of the earth when they're the strongest point, when the people can get energy just by being on the spot, on a certain spot geographically. And these spots, people knew where they are, just naturally. They've been in such a connection with nature. And there was Western people. And then later on, as technology and all these things developed, we lost this. We cover everything with the concrete. Telepathy is a telephone, and it doesn't work anymore. And we don't know where are the new spots, because spots are shifting. So the Celtic monuments, where they've been there, on the spots with energy, that spot is not there anymore. That maybe shift half meter away or 3 kilometers away. But to find the new spots, any Aborigine can tell you right away. And we don't. We just, lost the old thing. And we have to go back to it. But we will go back to it totally through the destruction, because the old thing with the technique on the end will collapse, because Earth will just, not take it anymore. And then we will go back exactly on the beginning, where these people never left. So that's funny how things goes. So the progress is regress in this way. We think it's a great thing to have nuclear centers and to search for another galaxy, and all this microcosmos we never explore. We always explore everything with this outside and not looking inside. So the basic difference, they're looking inside, we're looking outside, and somehow outside you get lost. That's the reason.
For the future, you hope we will become again the enlightened society we've been before. When and where was this enlightenment society, and why did it disappear? Because I never heard about an enlightenment society.
I was always asking myself these same questions. I say, if they're so incredible, advanced and great, why they always? Where are they? Where is the trace of it? I don't know the answer on all this, but I was always thinking somewhere in Bolivia and Peru as a child, there have to be all these great civilizations. They still have to exist. They just make themselves invisible, so we don't know they're there. But they can't just disappear. So maybe UFOs are just part of these civilizations who are just traveling a little bit around, looking to us, and go back in some strange mountains in Andes, or I don't know, these Tiki-Taka lakes, or who knows where. But I really don't know. It seems like in what history can learn us, that every civilization came to his peak, destroying itself. And I don't know what it is. I think it's like almost natural rhythm, like you learn when you are a child when you talk about astrology, that not astrology but cosmos, that like Earth, that every planet have his own gravitational field and is going from the center way and way, like cosmos is expanding, So you have the center, and the magnetic force, everything in the beginning is very close to it, and then each planet going farther and farther and farther and farther, but it's still this magnetic force holding it. Everything is turning around the circle, but there is one point when that force, it's on its maximal expansion, and then can't go farther, then all things go back and collide in one thing, and the process starts again.
Yeah.
And if is this true, then our breathing is the same. The breathing in is the life, breathing out is the dead. The expansion of the planets goes and go back into explosion. It means every civilization have happened the same. So we can put on every level the same law of breathing in and breathing out, life and death. Maybe that's one explanation. I don't know.
But you believe that will become again an enlightened society?
It's all these utopistic words. I don't really believe in anything right now. I only know that definitely it's very important that we live, that I'm very fortunate, and everybody else who live in this ending of the century, this period, that one century is ending, another begin. and that we have to be very aware of it. And as an artist, I have a kind of task to be aware of this transition and to prepare whatever public for the transition. And I think that's very possible that how much the planet is destroyed, that it's going to be really worse and worse, and everything will collapse. What will happen after, I don't know. But my task in my lifetime is to prepare um, the public that they're aware of this kind of destruction and they're aware of dying. That's the only thing. And after, I don't know, because it'll be out of my time. But definitely, we can't change the process. And the many artists, no, absolutely not. And I think that the many artists have these futuristic ideas. Oh, it's going to be this, and we can do that. This is just utopia. I think the only thing that we know that's going to happen, we're going to go through destruction. We're going to be extinguished as we are, maybe with our own fault, or just has to be like that. And we have to be prepared for the process. And my task is to make people aware of that process and to go consciously into it and not just be taken by surprise.
I mean, in the process of dying? Of
dying, yeah. And the rest, I don't know. That's the only thing I can be busy with my lifetime. That is something what is inevitable, how you say. You can't change. You just can't change. Because I think the dying is the most important subject in nowadays. What we have to go, because this is the greatest fear everybody have. And during the life, we have to die. We have to die literally and metaphorically in order to know what it's about. That we can go through this process of life freely, free of fear of dying. Because if you're not free of dying, we never can really live full of life. And life have to be lived now, here and now. That's the most important. Every day is the last day.
Yeah.
And we don't have this consciousness. We are living life like we will be forever here, not aware of temporality. And only when you're aware of temporality, you can have a full, also responsibility and to do. Everybody have to do his own task, the lifetime now.
Yeah.
And we always wait for something will happen. Nothing will happen. It's just your own thing. And my task is, even if I change consciousness, awareness of 3 or 4 people in my lifetime, it's pioneering step, but that's it. I'm not at all thinking of the ideas that art can change, millions of people and we can have better life and all this shit. No, it's not like that. Things are very minimum, as to start right from you, from now, from neighborhood, from, next door person.
Yeah.
And if you can do that changes, if everybody do these changes, there will be a lot of changes. I think we are going worse and worse. We're not going better and better. Yeah, it's true. We're going to worse and worse. And that's the teaching we're getting. So just we have to really be aware of that. That's the most important. And I really don't believe in the society miraculously will change. We have to go through the destruction in order to make construction again. And this is I think, period of destruction, definitely. It's very interesting that we are always attached to life and we are never attached to dying. And we should have the same attitude about life and death, because it's the same process. And that's if we accept that flowing of one energy and another energy, A Sufi said a beautiful thing. He said dying is, they say life is a dream and dying is waking up. That's another point of view. And we always think, no, life and dying is something bad. No. It's the breathing, you breathe in and then you breathe out. But then it's again breathing in somewhere else.
You expect that we will experience a collective spiritual transformation when we enter the 21st century. What kind of change do you expect and where are your expectations based on?
The first of all, that because we will confront with dying on the planetary terms, but I look like seems like prediction, but I think it's going to happen. Just look around what's going on with the planet. So also, like, look now with these new sicknesses we don't even know what they are, like AIDS, or there is some new disease in England who attack the blood, and you heard about attack the blood system, and people die and they don't even know. It's totally new disease. So I think through all this kind of earthquakes, fires, whatever, Jupiter is now is going to be crashed with another planet next month. I mean, all these things, all this turbulence will bring lots of disasters on the planet. There will be lots of dying. And I think this is very good teaching for us, to be confronted with what result the planet is going through the damaging process. And that all thing will bring totally new consciousness for the next century, I think. The new true consciousness who will be much less material, because at the end of the century we really went to the material things. Like what means if you have 3 cars and 6 televisions in the house? If this is all what life is the meaning for, or is important to work on yourself and sit 10 hours a day and meditate and understand some other things. So I think there will be huge shift and transition mentally and physically almost for the next century. And also that will reflect to art too, in many ways. So my idea was, like I have the same idea always, that art will not be art with objects involved anymore. It will be just remove object between artist and the public, and that realize public as a human beings and realize art as a human being. And just direct confrontation and exchange of energy will be enough.
Yeah.
That you don't need to make objects. There will be less material attachment to things. And that, I think, really all this transition between these 2 centuries will bring. It's vision about art. Otherwise, I don't know.
Less is better.
Less is better. Oh, I have a new statement. Because I have one friend said to me, okay, less is better. But he said, I know something better. And he said, I come to the really important discovery. And he said, more and more of less and less. That's a good one.
Yeah.
More and more of less and less.
Why did you introduce objects in your work where you expected all art objects will disappear in the new millennium? Because first you only did performances.
Sure.
Which is already sort of mind-to-mind.
Yeah, I know, but I discovered that in the performance is only mostly me who is transforming, but not the public.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really the kind of the fact. So I was thinking I have to make something I don't call sculptures, I call transitory objects. Very aware about material I use, like copper who transmit energy, iron who have another how you call function. The minerals, each one have another function. So that actually I discovered that something like, I rediscovered this old concept that the planet is a living being, and I relate the body of the planet to my own body. So for me, like copper will be nerves of the planet, and iron will be the blood of the planet, and the amethyst will be wisdom teas of the planet, and the quartz will be the mind of the planet, and geodes will be stomach, and so on and so on. The tourmaline, the liver of the planet. So each metal material could be related to the planet. So I'm dealing with these 2 bodies, human body and the body of the planet. And then I think the public absolutely need a transformation to receive this message, whatever, to be ready. So I made something I don't call sculpture, I call transitory objects, in which one they're like a tools that you are there to be used in order to this transformation take place. And first, some objects are based just on the single idea that it have to be a person who uses them have to get empty. Because all the problem that we are so full of information, always we getting in, and we never get things out, because we are very afraid of being by ourselves, and afraid of emptiness and doing nothing. And doing nothing is extremely important in this process. That just by doing nothing, another chemical reaction in our body take the place. And our culture makes us feel guilty from doing nothing. So these sculptures the transitory objects are actually tools that for the different experiences, and the public have to go through. And only after that, the new concept of the new century can take place, but not before the transformation take place.
So we have to be quick.
Have to be quick.
Only 5-6 years left.
And Deschamps also said that it's not only artists who is creative. The public have to be creative as well to receive.
Yeah.
So that's both ways. So in a way, I'm still doing my own performances, but I create for the public the tools.
So your own transformation is going on anyway.
Anyway, but that's the public have to do. But both, I think, then we have to meet.
Well, then you expected art without objects will lead us to mind-to-mind communication.
Yeah.
What do you mean with mind-to-mind communication?
Very simple. That
Is this, for example, already mind-to-mind communication,
It's
or
not.
is it without words?
No, it's we are not ready for this because you have to learn emptiness because now we are talking between each other. It's hundreds of walls. Like maybe you have to go somewhere else. You're thinking the light is not good enough, or this interview will be right, or maybe I have to ask new questions. I have to think, oh, they already ran the bus and I'm going to this exhibition with my students, or shall I dress something else? So we have like walls of thoughts parallel going at the same time while we are talking, and it's very difficult to learn the point of here and now. There is sometimes very little moments, in lovemaking when there is nothing existing except that moment here and now, or in the point when the people have very strong reaction to each other, or the the point when just happened that you're in that state of total balance, and there is here and now, and everything else disappear. And in this point, that these things can happen, but we are not like right now. It's not happening, but there is a possibility. But we have to create that kind of situation, and then the transformation can take place, but not before this is made. It's not what is going on, it's what is going on always. I have the interest for. I'm very interested to learn the techniques and to confront these techniques to the Western world when from the East, like especially like there are a lot of Tibetans or Sufis who have the possibility would go with the mental and physical bodies so far beyond life and beyond that, and to show these kind of possibilities who are beyond of our rational explanation into the art context, where you don't have intellect because intellect stop working because you see something what you think is impossible. Everything, all our society tells you is impossible, and it's yet there. And only there we could make, with this kind of seeing such activities, we can make kind of gap. It's big, almost like we call Kurzschluss break, when the electricity just blow because our intellect can't explain, our rational mind can't explain, and still it's happening. So this creates kind of void in our body and can lead us to the almost instant understanding of just instant understanding, whatever it is. So this is something I'm very interested in. Like
How to create that gap.
that gap, in which one you enter like it's in black hole, but in that black hole there is a possibility of illumination that second. And I think we have to confront with some very strong activities from them, from this. I mean, they have this possibility when they really experience clinical death, and you see the man is dead, and then next time, it's life again. There is this incredible guy in India who sit under the water for 6 hours without breathing. Your all rational mind, it's not possible, so you always think, oh, this is a trick. And then you spend maybe 3 hours looking for the trick, and then you find there is no trick, and then something happened. And that's what that happened. I'm interested to create that kind of gap.
So you could say that
beyond rational understanding.